G'day my fellow media collectors, I'm Troy and today we're looking at Batman Ninja is an animated superhero film that was produced by Warner Bros. Japan, DC Entertainment, Kamikaze Douga, YamatoWorks and Barnum Studio, and it was released in a digital format on the 24th of April 2018. This movie was the 33rd film of the DC Universe animated original movies. In its American release, writers Leo Chu and Eric Garcia have admitted to rewriting the film from the original Japanese script, ultimately making two different versions of the same film. This Blu-ray has a runtime of 85 minutes. This Blu-ray version was released on the 8th of May 2018. And it was distributed by Warner Bros. Home Entertainment. The story follows Batman, along with his allies and arch-nemesis, being transported from modern-day Gotham City to feudal Japan thanks to Gorilla Grodd's time-displacement device known as the Quake Engine. Landing in the Sengoku period, Batman discovers that many of his villains, the Joker, Harley Quinn, Penguin, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Deathstroke, Bane, and a couple more, have become feudal warlords vying for power. Determined to undo the chaos, Batman allies with his Bat family and mysterious ninja known as the Bat Clan of Hida. Guided by a prophecy, they aim to restore order and return to their own time in Gotham City. Now, the script for this film has sort of two versions, which there is an original Japanese version and then there's an English, how can I put it, translation / adaptation, which is the version most people outside of Japan would have watched. This is the one I've watched, which this is what I'm reviewing at the moment, is the English version. And look, this English version doesn't manage to hit, how can I put it, all of the marks that the story and the dialogue did in the Japanese version, and it kind of often stumbles for what most people would expect from, say, a traditional Batman story. Look, as this is a very ambitious concept of transporting Batman and his entire rogues gallery to feudal Japan in a very bold and imaginative way, but reimagining Gotham's classic battles as a clash of warlords fits well with the mythic scope Batman often kind of carries in the comic books. The script has a very fast paced, with it wasting no time, throwing Batman into conflict after conflict, with the action constantly rolling, ensuring that the fans who want that type of spectacle never really get a dull moment. But all that action comes at a cost, as there is a real lack of character development across the board that completely wastes literally all of its supporting cast, and it just focuses really on the battle between Batman and the Joker, as it feels more like a story that is just really the framework to justify the film's, shall we say, a jaw-dropping visuals than carefully constructed narrative. And by the end of the film, it feels like that it has abandoned all sense of logic and just an excuse for the animators to show Batman fighting a Gundam, which of course fans of anime will absolutely love for sure. But for anyone who's looking for that more traditional Batman story, they will probably be more likely probably disappointed. Look, it's a brilliant premise that, look, it just may not have translated well for everybody looking for that traditional Batman, as opposed to maybe your anime fans. But for me, I think they did a pretty good job. So for that, I'm going to give it a 20 out of 30. So this film, unlike most of the DC animated films that you probably would have seen, this one is not adapted from any pre-existing Batman comic. comic book storyline, and instead is a very original anime project that was made in Japan with DC's blessing, of course. And as it draws from the DC Elseworlds tradition, it keeps Batman and his rogues' core traits intact, but it manages to really reimagine them through the lens of Japanese history and anime culture, creating something that is very visually spectacular and engaging at the same time. Most notable is the look and feel. As while Batman comics often emphasize more on the noir tones and gritty realism, this movie really embraces anime conventions such as giant mechs, animal armies, exaggerated duels, offering a very different take from the traditional comics. Also, the animation is a very different style, which is sort of anime art overlaid on 3D models, which offers a very different feel to the movie, as well as it also throws in some different styles of animation that kind of change and morph throughout the film. Like one of the things that stood out for me was the sky in the background was done like this old traditional Japanese painting, but when Batman comes to terms, about probably the first act, when he comes to terms with where he is and what's going on, the sky changes and then it starts looking normal, and it sort of there to emphasize the emotion of the story, which I felt was, look, honestly, that was just brilliant, as they love sort of telling the story through visuals and not really spoken word, which really takes this movie to a whole nother level.
Works on many levels, sir.
Now, I'll just grab the cast. And as you can see, the cast list is the usual suspects that usually get the call up to do these DC animated movies. And the cast list is no different to a lot of them that you've probably seen, with some very familiar voices all around, which always helps with some type of, I suppose, continuity throughout the DC animated films. But for all of the talent that's here, they really get very few lines and don't really get to show off their stuff, as about, and this is a bit of a guess, 75% of the voice acting is done by just two actors, Roger Craig Smith and Tony Hale. So for that, I'm just going to focus on those guys, and let's start with Roger Craig Smith as Batman. Now, for some of you out there, you may recognize his voice, as he is better known for his voicing of Batman in the Arkham Origins video game. And just like the same game, Smith delivers the same steady, grounded Dark Knight that we all know and love. And as his voice brings the gravitas to even the most ridiculous situation, like explaining why a giant monkey bat fusion monster makes perfect sense. He's the classic straight man in this world gone insane, and you know what, it actually works to a T. Now, Tony Hale as the Joker is without a question the standout performance in this film, as Hale plays the Joker with this manic glee, throwing himself into the role with this shrieking laughs and theatrical line deliveries, and that kind of unhinged joy that fits the anime chaos that is happening around them perfectly. He has his own take on the Joker, but while it's not a copy of Mark Hamill's Joker, it really embodies all of the same hallmarks, but turns it kind of up a notch in this really wild, crazy, sort of fun take of this anime version. While everyone else does a good job, the script, look, it barely gives anyone anything else to do, and they have very little opportunity to shine or really do much. It kind of almost turns everyone else into these like cameo level appearances. They don't really get much to do. So look, overall, some very solid lead performances, a scene-stealing Joker, that's for sure, but too many talented actors left with scraps, I'm afraid, and for that, I'm still going to give it a 15 out of 20. Okay, as we look at the disc and case, how good does that front cover look? It really catches your eye. As soon as I saw it the first time, I was like, oh my God, I've got to watch this movie. Okay, so then we get the side there. And then we get the back. Same again, not too bad at all. Usually they're a bit average, some of these mass-produced ones, but this one's not too bad. Let's have a look at the disc. Okay, so nothing special with the disc and nothing on the inside, but even still, I really like the look of it all around. It's actually a nice one. So for that, look, I'm probably going to, because I do like the artwork on the front, I'm definitely going to give this a 7 out of 10. Okay, so there are a couple of special features on this Blu-ray, and they include East-West Batman featurette, Batman Made in Japan featurette, and Batman Ninja Comic-Con featurette, I think. So look, not too many here at all, but they are some good featurettes. Well, okay, look, except for the Comic-Con one, which was a little boring. But the other two are really good and give you an insight into what the idea behind this was and the process involved, which for me was really great to watch, as I found some of what they had to say in there sort of helped me look at this movie differently, which then made me kind of appreciate it actually a lot more than I did when I first watched it. So I totally recommend that you watch the special features first, then watch the movie, as once you understand where they're coming from, you'll probably enjoy this movie better. Which I know sounds weird, but I think, look, for me, I think it does help. Well, definitely helped myself, that's for sure. Anyway, for that, even though there's only a couple on there, they were pretty good. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. As I bring up the Rotten Tomatoes scorecard, as you can see, the critics came in at 83%, not bad. While the audience came in at 60%. That's a little low, anyway. Which for me is actually kind of surprising given how low the audience score is compared to the critics, which is kind of weird. Now, I think I can put it down to probably two things. One, this movie is for a Japanese audience and it's not necessarily for an American audience. So, look, if you're not up on your anime or the like, this will be kind of a strange watch, which from what I saw was kind of reflected in the reviews. And two, and I don't mean to make this sound bad in any way, but I think a lot of people really missed the point of the movie. And I think if you understand what this movie is at its core, I think that the reviews probably would have been different, where a lot of them, I think a lot of the critics were a bit more on point with their takes on this movie. I think they kind of understood the premise a bit better. Look, either way, if we round it all out, we are going to get a score of, yep, you guessed it, 7 out of 10. So for me, I saw this years ago on TV, but only about half of it, and I thought, it wasn't too bad. But I just never got around to watching the whole thing until now, when I got the sequel and just recently thought, bugger it, I will rewatch and review this one and the next one. And wow, talk about go full anime on this movie, which seems to be,
Well, spit it out, man.
to its detriment when it comes to your regular American audience. Then that kind of was expecting more of a traditional Batman movie, I think, but got something so next level. But for me, there is this key piece of information that I think should actually be shown at the start of the movie to kind of help people get their heads into the right perspective before watching it. And there was just this one sentence from one of the creators in the special features that did it for me, and that was this one.
お客さんとして入るんではなくて、僕たちの世界にバットマンをお客さんとして招き入れて。
So look, when you realize this isn't anime trying to do an adaptation of Batman, but Batman trying to navigate an anime world, then I think this is what makes this a great story and a great premise that kind of explores what would Batman do in this crazy world of anime? And I mean, once you kind of accept all the crazy anime tropes and see what Batman can do in this world, I think it's bloody fantastic, and I really cannot wait to watch the sequel next week with the Justice League. I can't wait to see what they come up with them. Look, I highly recommend this movie, but make sure you go in having the right perspective, and then I guarantee you will enjoy it. Once you put that crazy anime stuff aside, honestly, it is a great watch. And for me, I absolutely loved it. So for that, it's almost perfect. I'm going to give it a score of 19 out of 20. So for availability, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. And it's relatively common, and you'll still find it in your local retail outlets or on eBay. As far as collectability goes, I'm definitely put this one at a 4 out of 5. And this is a must-have for any anime fans or Batman fans, DC fans in general. Definitely a great one to have in the collection. The average price, you are looking at somewhere between the $13 to $45 mark for Blu-ray, so it always pays to shop around. Let's go to the scorecard and see how this one shapes up. Now, for the final score, we get a grand total of 74 out of 100. That is a great score for a great movie. Honestly, give it a watch, but make sure you leave all your preconceived notions at the door about Batman, as this film is just full of crazy anime shit.
That's crazy. Batshit crazy.
Next week on the show, we are going to look at Batman Ninja versus the Yakuza League on Blu-ray, so make sure you come back and tune in for that one. Thanks for watching.